Good morning, everybody. Today is Sunday, December 19th, and the three of us, Tom, Asher, and me, are back in action. It's another Sunday. Guys, how we doing? I haven't seen you guys in a while. Asher, we'll start with you, man. How you doing?
I'm feeling great. Kind of sucks having some of the games postponed, but I think it was probably for the best, considering that we were just talking about most of those teams are playoff contenders. But should be a fun day.
Yeah, I agree. What about you, Tom? How you doing, man? How did finals go? And
They were going all right. I only had one physical test, which was nice. It got moved online. That's the reason I flew home a week early, was because my test got moved online and there was no reason for me to stay out at school. But other than that, it went pretty well. I'm just waiting for some grades to come in now, but I'm looking forward to having a month at home. Did Justin freeze up for you, Asher?
He did.
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh.
I'm back. I just got to get this other guy off. So sorry, Tom. How you doing, man?
I was saying finals were pretty good. I only had one test, and it got moved remotely. That's why I came back a week earlier than I was expected to. And then I'm just waiting for some grades to come in and all that. So
yeah, a little bit nerve-wracking time, but It's your last. You still have one more semester, right?
Yeah.
So it's your first semester ever, hopefully, unless you want to go to I guess you might. Are you gonna go? I'm not. We're not gonna get into that now. It's all right. So we've obviously had a tumultuous couple of weeks. I don't think we ever really talked about it. Asher, how was the loss to the Lions? and I'm not being mean, because they were going to beat a team anyways. It just unfortunately fell against the Vikings.
No, I almost saw it coming. They almost beat us earlier on in the year. Mm-hmm. The Vikings usually played either up or down to their opponent's level. Mm-hmm. And considering it wasn't Detroit, what better scenario for the Lions to finally pick up their first win? I think it was nice for the fans to see that. Obviously, Vikings fans were hurting for a bit, but I can't. If you were a Vikings fan, you had to expect that happening. There was definitely a good chance of Lions beating us that day.
Yeah, I feel that. But it was a good game. It was a cool ending, and it finally seemed like the Lions got the monkey off their back. So that's good. And then there are other news, but I guess the most pressing, more urgent news is Urban Meyer has been fired. I don't know a single human being that follows the NFL that didn't see this coming. What are your guys' thoughts? Tom, what's up? How do you feel about Urban Meyer?
I think that he's a really shitty person deep down. I think that was apparent when all of this was going down, and then thrown on top of that, he kicked Josh Lambeau's kicking leg, telling him to what did he call him, a dipshit? He said, "Dipshit, hit your kicks," or something like that.
I don't know, but
I think it was something like that. But
that was the straw that broke the camel's back, I think. But I think that was a setup. I think they were basically waiting for just something where they could fire him with cause, because apparently they're not going to pay out the rest of his contract, which they shouldn't have to. Asher, how do you react to the Urban Meyer news?
I'm just surprised he wasn't fired earlier. This was, like you said, there's no NFL fan that shouldn't have seen this coming. Urban Meyer's not ready to coach at the NFL level, and he is a shitty person. So I think you guys pretty much hit the nail on the head there, and good riddance to Meyer.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has sympathy for him, really. I will say, he still is a great college coach, but also he literally has no friends in the business or in the world probably anymore. So, I mean, we've kind of put the Florida thing swept under the bus, where he had 32 players arrested. I think if there's any more skeletons in Urban Meyer's closet, they're going to come out here in the next couple months, years, because when he was at Fox, people just didn't really care. They're like, okay, you're a good college coach, whatever. And now people just generally just like him, so they're going to try and bring him down, which might as well. But all right, let's get back into some fantasy. playoffs started last week for some people, and then mostly starting this week. Give us updates on. You guys probably all have like 6 teams, but like I don't know. Just give an update on your playoffs right now. Tom, how about you?
I kind of got screwed in the last week of the regular season. So the one league that I was in, I needed to win and get in, and I played the highest scorer who outscored the second highest guy by 35 points. So I did not make the playoffs in that one. Just in our dynasty league, I won my week to move myself up to the 3 seed, and I was supposed to play my friend Sal, who we've had on the show, and his team is significantly worse than who I'm ending up playing. Asher, you were not there to hear any of this, and Justin, I don't know if I told you, there was a stat correction in one of the week 14 games where it flipped the outcome of the game because it was a 1-point win and it was a 2-point stat correction for the Cowboys blocking a kick. And with that flip, I went from playing Sal to playing my cousin Bobby, who has Travis Kelce as his tight end. So I went from having an easy round 1 win with Sal's team to now probably losing in the first round because of Travis Kelce's 40-point night.
Wow, yeah, that's a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah, I know a buddy of mine in my league back home with my friends. He was up, I think it was like by like 6 or 7 points, and a lot of his team got hit by stat corrections, and he ended up losing by like point something.
Yeah,
it was like he needed to win that game to make playoffs, and he was in for a solid day, and then stat corrections came out, and he was so pissed.
And my dad is the one that got screwed because the game that flipped that changed all the outcomes, my dad was the 8 seed because he outscored the guy that had the stat correction. So with the stat correction and the extra win, the guy snuck in and my dad got bounced from the playoffs.
Yeah.
But in TAV, I am the number 1 seed and I have 51 points already, and I'm not playing anyone because I have a bye.
Oh yeah, all right.
In the TAV Show Me League, I'm also the 1st seed. But
yes, sir.
In my leagues, made playoffs in all 5.
Cannot say the same.
And I secured a first-round bye in 4 of those 5 leagues, so it's looking pretty good.
Yeah. I had to explain what happened. I mean, it was BS. I tried fixing it.
Hey, Mr. Bennett, we're going to have a better season next year. I have not given you good bets. It's just been a bad year for us, so we're going to have a good year next year, Mr. Bennett. Don't worry. The 4 leagues, I assume one of the leagues, me and Tom's dynasty in our league, I don't think we made the playoffs. That's not your fault. That's probably, I mean, that's just, I'll just come out and say it. Like, I like fantasy. I liked it more this year. This is the exact reason why I never will be like you two or like this. It's just because I lost interest. Like when I lost my first game in the Pirate League, which I unfortunately did like 2 weeks ago, I still got the 1 seed. I'm still in the playoffs, but I just stopped caring. And then Tom emailed me or texted me on Friday or Thursday earlier this week, was like, "Hey, you made the playoffs in my league, and it does not look good for your league. The fact that I made the playoffs with Kenyon Drake as my starting running back for 17 weeks, or 15 weeks." So
no, you had him in for like the points where he was good, and then you just forgot to take him out.
Yeah, well, I don't expect. What was that?
Nothing.
Oh,
I wasn't calling him out. I was just.
No, he's right. I mean, I don't expect to win a game in that or anymore. I honestly don't expect to win any more in the playoffs. Like, I'm the 1 seed. I have a bye this week. I'm probably going to lose next week. So, but this is for a lot of money for a lot of people. So definitely listen to these two because they know what they're talking about, considering that I think you guys both have like each 5 teams in the playoffs. So, all right. And then before we get into our start and sit-ems, I have to bring it up. I don't think I brought it up yet. We usually have our Pat Fryermuth Love Fest. How much blame does he deserve for dropping the touchdown pass?
Not that much, to be honest.
I honestly, he had the catch. I think it was more of an amazing play. Was it Harrison Smith who knocked it out?
Smith.
It was an amazing play by Harrison Smith coming over the middle. He got his hand in and pulled the ball out. Like it was a great play by Harrison Smith.
Yeah, I mean, Pat Freiermuth is he's a huge guy, right? He's not an easy guy to, bully in the end zone. So when Harry the Hitman came in and just punched the ball out of his hands, like there's not a whole lot you could do there. Even getting sandwiched, most wide receivers would probably drop that ball, and it still looked like even being sandwiched, he held his own until Harry the Hitman came in with the punch. So, I mean, of course, it sucks for the Steelers because that's your opportunity to, push into overtime. But at the end of the day, he still got a tutty for my squad, and the Vikings came out to win. So I'm not putting any blame on him.
And I think he had like 20 fantasy points before that. So
if anything, he's still in my good graces.
Yeah, if anything, for me, it just shows that kind of where his future is going. If the Steelers are trusting him to catch that ball over Deontay Johnson, over Chase Claypool, like I think that it could like translate to being really good for him long term with the Steelers.
Yes, sir, Ski.
Fuck both of you. This is so
this shows we found a way to.
It's a flat circle. It's a flat circle. Like, God, whatever.
Justin's just mad that we found a way to turn that into.
Whatever. All right, let's get into fantasy. Actually, the really important things.
Sure.
All right, let's get to our starter and sit them. Like I said, I'll let you two take most of this away. I'll just do the hosting. But if I do have a couple to put in there. So, but other than that, I do have a question that actually, not necessarily my buddy, but asked me earlier. With D-Hop out for the rest of the year, is Chase Edmonds worth a play this week? Even though they've killed it with James Conner, is Chase Edmonds like? I think he might get like maybe 10 carries, but I think he's going to get 5 receptions or so because I just think they're going to pass the ball a hell of a lot. But I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I think it's playoffs and don't do anything pretty this week.
Yeah, don't get cute with it.
Start your studs and wait to see what Edmonds can do if you get into the second round. So,
yeah, I love Chase Edmonds. He's a guy that I took in all of my leagues at like round 7 or later. He got hurt, and obviously we've seen James Conner explode the past couple of weeks, and Edmonds is being touted as the pass catcher. 2 weeks in a row now, we've seen James Conner, I believe, lead the team in yardage or in catches or in targets or something. I really think that this may be the time we start to see James Conner come back as the number one back like we saw in Pittsburgh. And I am anyone who knows me knows that I talk about James Conner and how much I don't like him or believe he's a true NFL back. I watched the game last week where he was just literally getting the ball every other play. And I am believing that he has found the right system to benefit himself the most. So I could actually see Edmonds. He's projected for 13 right now in most scoring standards. I could see him getting like 5 with Conner getting like 25. Like I very much believe that Conner will be taking over now.
Yeah, I don't think there's very much red zone possibility for Edmonds going forward, considering James Conner has been a TD hog all season. And it seems like I think they have more trust in James Conner now that they have him going in the passing game and to see what he's done in the passing game as well. So he's kind of making Edmonds' spot a little more obsolete. But then again, I'm not Cliff Kingsbury, so we'll see where he decides to go with this.
All right. Well, sorry, Nico. My bad, man. I gave you the wrong advice. So
I actually also just got a question from my friend Clark, who lives down in Washington, D.C. area. He says, do I start Chase Claypool versus Tennessee, or do I start Van Jefferson versus the Seahawks in my half-point PPR?
Oh, man.
I
love my boy Van Jefferson. It's tough to go against him.
I was going to say I'm probably going to bring up Van Jefferson at some point in the show today. So I'm gonna reply with Van Jefferson, but I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts.
Yeah, I mean Van Jefferson's kind of been my hidden gem in my dynasty league. He's a guy that I'm not willing to take off my starting roster, and I like the rapport that he's building with Matt Stafford when Cooper Kupp isn't getting the ball 9 out of the other 10 plays. So I like what I see from Van Jefferson, but Chase Claypool is also a solid start this week. I have Chase Claypool going in a few leagues. He's playing Tennessee, who doesn't have a great defense. So you really can't go wrong here. But as far as trying to stack the stats, I think Van Jefferson is going to have a bigger play than Claypool will.
I agree 100% with that. So
yeah, I'm not a fan. I think I don't. In my opinion, I wouldn't play Claypool the rest of the year if I had Claypool. I just honestly think Ben in his last 4 games, he's just going to ignore him. I think, but that's fine. Whatever. All right. Let's get to our start 'em, sit 'ems. Let's get to our start and start with the quarterback. But first question for both of you, because I've been converted. I was a non-Tua believer before. I'm now a Tua believer. How do you guys feel about Tua going? Not necessarily this year. This is more of just an overall question going forward. How do you guys feel about Tua? Tom, I'll start with you.
I still do not believe in Tua. He can be playing as good as he's been playing, but I do not see him long term being a superstar quarterback. He can be good. He can be a guy that fills in and maybe won't mess up games for you. But I do not see him personally as a long-term guy, especially in the Miami system. I think that Miami is going to be looking for a new quarterback going forward. We already have heard the rumors with Deshaun Watson, and that's all good and fun. But this year's quarterbacks, free agents, are not necessarily the greatest, but I wouldn't be surprised if Miami went and explored some of the top-tier guys to bring in and potentially trade Tua around, a guy that I think maybe not is in the running to go there, but I wouldn't be surprised if they explored bringing in Russell Wilson, because bringing in Russell Wilson with the weapons that Miami has down there might be scary enough to make them relevant in the AFC East. So I do not see Tua staying in the league long term, maybe as much as other people do, and that might be because I'm a Jets fan, but that's just how I feel about Tua.
Tua is a very lucky individual, I would say the least, in terms of NFL play style or how his team's kind of been performing the last couple of weeks. Because yes, they've been getting dubs, but Tua's stat line is nothing to go home about. He is usually throwing in the bottom 200s. He's thrown for 5 TDs the past 3 games. As far as fantasy relevance goes, I don't like Tua at all. He's a quarterback that I wouldn't recommend starting against any team. But I mean, his team is winning games for him. So I think in that situation, don't fix what's not broken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, like I said, I've been converted, so I'm all in on Tua. But yeah, I mean, it's fine. I like every other quarterback in the NFL other than Baker Mayfield, so that's pretty much it. All right, let's get to our stardoms.
I love that. That was funny.
Let's get to our stardoms, and we can start with the quarterback. This is going to be tough. Tom, I'll let you go first.
Yes. I am going to be going with Jalen Hurts versus Washington today. Yeah, that's why I'm glad that I got to go first this one. I knew Jalen Hurts going up against Washington, who is giving up the most fantasy points to a quarterback position. He has been putting up big numbers. He's found his rhythm, found his groove. Actually, do we know if he's playing? I just thought of that.
I'll look it up, but I know him and Minshew are splitting reps earlier this week.
Okay. Well, I'll say that.
Go ahead. I'll look it up. Hold on. Go ahead.
If Hurts is the one that's playing, I'm just going to go ahead and say the Philadelphia quarterback then, because I think Gardner Minshew will get the job done as well. But if we're talking Jalen Hurts, Washington's struggling through the air specifically, and they're missing Cameron Curl, I believe, this week, who's one of the big guys in their secondary that was going to break up passes and everything. So I really like Jalen Hurts. If it's Gardner Minshew, I mean, we saw what he's done. Asher, has it been 2 weeks since he's been playing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the guy is getting it done. He's looking like the guy from Jacksonville last year. I'm still really pissed, and I've had conversations with my family about why the Jets should have just given up a 6th or 5th round pick to get Minshew and taken the 2 pick and use something else or use it on something else. But I'm just going to go with whichever Philadelphia quarterback plays today. I think they're about to have a huge day on this Washington defense.
It says he's expected to play, so I think he's going to play. Everything I'm reading says he's going to play.
Beautiful.
And this is a favorable matchup for him, so I like that pick. Asher, what about you, my man?
Yeah, I'm going to go with my backup option in Taysom Hill against Tampa Bay. I know he's facing Tampa Bay this week, but as long as Taysom Hill is the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, he's going to put fantasy numbers up for you. I can't remember the last time he's actually started and not gone below 20 points. So I think it's safe to say that Taysom Hill, if you don't have any other options, Taysom Hill is a solid start this week.
I like that too.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a sharp pick because I'm the type of guy that Taysom Hill is already he means nothing to me. I hope he leaves the league. So, but all right, let's go to our running backs. Asher, I'll start with you, man. Who you got going hot today? I think one of them you guys both might have, and I think if we do, I think we should all just say it. I think we know who we're talking about. James Robinson, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Asher, I'll start with you.
I mean, it's a clear pick. James Robinson is on board for a huge game, especially with Urban Meyer out. Meyer's hasn't been a huge fan of James Robinson, but it's time to unleash the beast. It's time to see the James Robinson that we saw last year, putting up points, making miracles happen out of thin air for fantasy owners. And I think, the interim head coach, what's his name, Bevel?
Daryl Bevel.
Yeah, Bevel. Yeah. He's already said that James Robinson is their starting running back, and he will be utilized as such. So I'm excited to see what James Robinson can put on the board today.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I will go a different way because I also had James Robinson just in case no one brought him up. But I am gonna.
I'm pretty dumb. I'm not that dumb, guys.
I didn't want to judge. I didn't want to say nothing.
Just keep going, Tom.
I am going to bring up one Sony Michelle versus the Seahawks today. The Seahawks rushing defense is subpar at best, and it sometimes it's just downright bad. Michelle, when Henderson has been out, has been putting up around 15, 20 a week. I don't know if Henderson's playing. I think maybe he's active.
He is.
But he's going to be on more of a snap count. I think McVay said they're going to play game feel and see how he's feeling while he's playing. Even if Sony Michelle is just getting goal line touches from Henderson, not to re-aggravate whatever injury he had, I could see Michelle getting some, like I said, red zone touches, maybe some PPR if he's in, just to give Henderson a break a little bit. So I think Sony Michelle is going to have a solid day versus Seattle.
Yeah.
Just a heads up, they do not play today. They play Tuesday.
Oh, they play Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday night.
Oh, whatever. Same thing.
Yeah.
I can't even keep up with what games are when.
Yeah, I mean, Darrell Henderson is again, like he wasn't injured. He's coming off of an illness, but at the same time, if that illness is still lingering, he's still going to need time to catch his breath. I like the Sony Michelle play. I think he's more of a sleeper than a
I'm realizing. Starter, I thought he was starting. I thought I saw that he was out.
No, that's good. I like the pick either way. I think Sony Michelle has proven that he should be utilized a little bit more in that offense. So,
All right. Now we'll move on to our receivers, and I'll start the receivers with a question. Who do the Rams play this week?
Seahawks.
Someone just said Seahawks. Is Odell Beckham worth a start this week? Either one of you. I'll start with Tom. Go ahead.
I would say so after seeing what he did last week. I think has he played 3 games with the Rams so far?
I believe so.
I think he's played 3 games with the Rams and he has 4 touchdowns. He's getting that chemistry with Stafford. He's really getting single coverage every time because everyone's worried about Cooper Kupp, and rightfully so. And obviously we've seen Van Jefferson take some of the deep balls or whatever, but I think that it's a good enough play to play Odell this week. Yeah.
Well, he's played 4 games with the Rams, but regardless, after the bye week, he scored a touchdown in 3 of the 4 against Green Bay, Jacksonville, and Arizona. I think Odell Beckham is an absolute great start in any format.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he was always going to be okay in LA, I thought, but I mean, I still think he's a little overrated, but whatever. Let's start with our stardoms. I mean, he got paid like $300 million for one catch.
That's true. No, you're right. But he's still. I mean, it's not even just like it was just one catch, though. I mean, he put up insane numbers.
Yeah,
his Giants like stint there was like really good. He was really, really good, and he still is probably really good. But for the Giants, like he was the only player on the team other than like Eli. So I think that catch. I think it got him a lot of money, and it deserved to. It was an awesome catch.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so. Let's go with our wide receivers then. Asher, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Devonta Parker. I think he's going to be a solid start. I think Jalen Waddle out with COVID. Two is going to be looking Parker's way a lot. When Parker's out there, he's still the wide receiver 1. He's still been putting up fantasy numbers. And without speedy Jaden Waddle, the Dolphins are going to need somebody to move the ball down the field, whether it's him or Gesicki. But I do like Parker this week.
I like that pick as well. I was looking at him as potentially a sleeper, so you have him as a starter. It would have been a great pick. But I am going to go with someone who's been picked up, I think, more so than any other wide receiver this week. I'm going with Christian Kirk. He's playing the Lions this week. DeAndre Hopkins is sidelined for the remainder of the regular season, which means the rest of the fantasy season for most. And the door is open, really, between A.J. Green and Christian Kirk. We saw last week A.J. Green getting way more involved than I think anyone, at least me, thought he would have this year, barring any injuries. But Christian Kirk has been a guy that's been getting his target share and getting more involved each week. I mean, he started off hot, then took a little dip because teams started looking for him. And then progressively after that dip, he's been getting more and more looks, more and more targets. And I think that now with DeAndre out, Kirk's going to get kind of the number 1 spot, even if it is AJ Green. I think more teams are going to start to double up on AJ Green than they will Christian Kirk. And I think that can mean more touchdowns and more deep balls for Christian Kirk. So what better way to start that than playing the Lions this week? So I'm going to go with Christian Kirk.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think he's probably one of the more picked up ones. I'm not going to say that I think DeAndre Hopkins was like the straw that broke the camel's back. I know I've said that twice now today on the show. Props to me. I didn't even know what that meant before today. But I think Cardinals need to be very worried. I think their offensive line struggles that maybe Kyler kind of like put down a little bit because he's able to run around. I think their offensive line is in major trouble. And without DeAndre Hopkins, you're looking at a 32-year-old AJ Green and not necessarily, but a very good slot receiver. So I now going back to the Edmonds question I asked you guys, I agree. I think they're going to ride James Conner a lot. Mm-hmm. And I got to say this to James Conner. I hate it when they put him in the backfield next to Kyler because he makes Kyler look so small. But yeah, I agree. And also back to the OBJ thing, he was activated yesterday because I know he did get COVID earlier this week or what's on the list. So he was activated along with Darrell Henderson or whoever the other running back is. So Odell, OBJ, yeah, he just got activated yesterday.
Oh, I saw on Twitter that he tested negative a bunch, but he might have been on like a close watch.
He posted that he posted himself that he tested negative.
Oh.
But okay. Yeah, they activated him yesterday, but whatever. All right, let's go to our tight ends. interesting position as we get deeper into each more interesting position as we get deeper into the year. As I think a lot of teams, it gets colder in the East Coast, and they look for the tight ends. Asher, I'll start with you, tight end.
Yeah, this position is tricky because if you don't have one of 6 guys that are putting up fantasy relevant days, it's kind of hard to pick anybody. So I'm just going to go with the chalk and say George Kittle. Against Atlanta, what better tight end to play this week than George Kittle? And that's all I really have to say about it.
Yeah, that game last week when they played the Bengals, that is why. And I think tight ends are a little bit at points by some people overvalued and undervalued by the same people. But the play in that catch that Greg Kittle made, or George Kittle, I don't know his name, made last week, that's why he gets the big money. That's why Travis Kelce gets the big money, is because there are very few tight ends that can block as well as they do and make those kind of catches. So I think, George Kittle's had a fantastic run here. So yeah, I like that. Tom, what about you, man?
I have 2 guys that I'm very passionate about this week. So I'm going to kind of talk about both since we have a little extra time. The first one I'm going to talk about is Mike Gesicki versus the Jets today. Asher kind of touched on it with his Devonta Parker pick, but with Jalen Waddle out, someone's going to need to get those short passes and the passes in the red zone. And I think Mike Gesicki is one of those guys that just has a knack for getting open in the end zone. Now, this year, Jalen Waddle has just been faster to getting open than Gesicki is. But if you went back and watched a ton of the plays, I was watching a TikTok, YouTube video or some sort or whatever on Gesicki this week and why he's going to have a good week. And they were showing some of the plays that Waddle ended up scoring a touchdown on, but literally a second or two after, Gesicki was wide open in the end zone. And if Waddle wasn't on the field, it probably would have gone to Mike Gesicki. So I think this week, like I said, he's going to take a lot of those short passes, which equates to more PPR points. He has the ability to break some of those tackles to get big yardage, and he's going to be a red zone and end zone threat. So I really like Gesicki this week versus my Jets. And then the other one is coming off a season high performance. It is Dallas Goddard versus Washington today. He's probably not available more so than Gesicki is on your waiver wire. But if you have Goddard or a guy that has a difficult matchup, I think Hurts is really going to rely on Goddard this week. I don't know wasn't Devonta Smith on the injury report, at least as questionable or something coming into the week?
Yes.
If he's not 100%, I think Goddard is the next target. It certainly isn't Miles Sanders, and I don't even know the rest of the receiving core for Philly. So I think he's going to have just a big day, and he's going to get those end zone targets like he did last week with his 6-catch, 2-touchdown, 100-yard performance. So I really like both of those guys this week, so I'm going to tack them both in.
Yeah, I like both those guys. I like both those picks. Yeah, tight end's an interesting position.
Guys, something to watch that I'm getting updates on. During warm-ups for the game, Carolina versus Buffalo, the Carolina kicker, Zane Gonzalez, got helped off the field, and they do not have a reserve kicker. So they have Brandon Zylstra has the kicking tee. He's a wide receiver for them. If you remember a couple weeks ago, Zylstra. He had the big, long touchdown. He has the kicking tee. Frankie Louvu, former Jet, and Reggie Bonifant are also practicing kicking off. So they do not have another kicker on their roster. So they are just going to have some position players try kicking. So they might be going for 2, and they might be going a little bit up.
They just need to pull the backyard football out of their pocket and have the quarterback chuck it down the field on kickoff.
Is that allowed?
No, not at all. But you know what?
I would love it. I remember playing that on the Wii. I love that game. Anyway, that's just a little injury update I just wanted to throw out there.
Dang, a lot of these NFC teams need the Vikings to lose today to clinch a playoff spot. I think I saw 3 out of 4 that had a chance of clinching. All of them need Vikings to lose today or tomorrow. Sorry.
See, no one can keep track of these games, man.
All right. You guys just go real quick. Do your defenses or special teams. One of you go. I don't care.
Sorry. I flipped the teams, but I'm starting Tampa versus New Orleans this week.
Okay.
Dang, I like that. I forgot about defenses, but I'll pull one up.
Just don't say the Browns, and you're good.
Or the
No,
Jets.
I mean I have the 49ers streaming in a lot of my leagues. I'm going 49ers against Atlanta.
I like that. Just note to all Eagles and Giants fans. Today is the some 1 year anniversary of the miracle at the Meadowlands, Deshaun Jackson's punt return touchdown.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Just shout out to you guys. All right, let's go with our sit-ems. Let's start with quarterback. Asher, you can start this time. I let Tom start with the quarterback last time. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. I'm going to sit Ryan Tannehill. I don't like what I've been seeing out of him ever since Derrick Henry
I
went
like
down.
that pick a lot.
They're playing Pittsburgh this week. I mean, I know what the Vikings did to the Steelers before their bye week. We ran through them like Swiss cheese. But if they play anything like they did in the second half, we went the entire third quarter and some of the fourth quarter without even getting down the field. So if their defense can get together, Ryan Tannehill is an easy objective to take down this week.
Gotcha. All right, Tom, what about you?
This might be a tough pill to swallow for most people, but we're all about those hard-hitting takes. So I am benching in any format, any kind of league. I'm benching Russell Wilson.
You picked the wrong guy to bench, and I'll get to that in a sec. But okay,
Sure.
I agree. I agree. Russell Wilson, like I'll just sorry. You can get to it in a sec.
Mm-hmm.
The Russell Wilson to Cleveland thing, like I don't want Russell Wilson. There are well over right now in the NFL. There are well over 15 quarterbacks I would take ahead of Russell Wilson right now. But go ahead, Tom, and I'll tell you which quarterback you should have picked in a sec.
I'm benching Russ because the Rams are giving up the 6th fewest points to the quarterback position as is. Then you add on two facts, that Russell Wilson has been playing like Dookie lately, and the fact that Tyler Lockett is on the COVID-19 list. DK Metcalf should be having a big day, but DK hasn't been playing great. He hasn't been getting open. He was injured for Wednesday and Thursday practices. He's cleared to play, but I don't know. And I guess since the Rams are they playing Tuesday or are they tomorrow?
Tuesday, I believe.
Tuesday. Well, then maybe Lockett's back and this changes things, but just the way Russ has been playing lately, I don't even think it matters that much. I really do not like anything about the matchup for Russell Wilson today.
Yeah, I feel that. Quarterback you should have picked, and actually I take it back. You shouldn't have picked him because he's playing Carolina this week, so that's fine. Josh Allen stinks. Like
he's the number
3
scoring
Tom.
quarterback.
Back up your boy Tom because
he's the number 3 scoring quarterback. That's he's the number 5 overall fantasy producer. That is
how
my
many wins. How many wins does he have in the past 2 weeks?
He has won me 9 wins in my dynasty win.
So would you say he's worth whatever 150 million guaranteed? Because I would not.
It hasn't gone into effect yet.
Okay, whatever.
He's on his rookie deal.
You guys are the fact that Josh Allen has had literally one good season in the NFL last year, one good season in the NFL, and that people are just willing to just drop to their knees right away. It's crazy. I hope that guy. Oh God, he's Jamarcus Russell. Screw Josh Allen. All right, running backs.
Asher, what did you want to add on it?
No, I was just saying he's worth $100 and paying for my fantasy leagues.
Yeah,
to have a roster spot. So
there you go.
I would not draft him. He freaking sucks. He's turned Stephon Diggs into an okay receiver. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get into it. You guys both know you're wrong, but whatever. Running backs.
Man.
Asher, do you want to go for running backs?
Yeah, just because we talked about it earlier, I'm going to make it a point and sit Chase Edmonds this week, just for those thinking that he might be a worthy play now that he's coming back. I don't think so. I don't think this is not the time to get pretty with your lineups. So if you have other options that is not named Chase Edmonds, I would highly recommend going with those options. I'm not saying he's going to have a terrible day. I just don't think he's going to win you fantasy games this week. So I'd sit Chase Edmonds.
All right, Tom.
I am going with Devonta Freeman, but mainly just all Baltimore running backs versus Green Bay. Everyone's hyping them up and everyone's picking them up because Lamar is out and Tyler Huntley is in. Tyler Huntley is a decent backup. We've seen him make some really solid plays. We've seen him move the ball with his legs a little bit. But I just do not see any Baltimore running back getting enough volume and enough of the snap count to be making that a huge impact like everyone's expecting. Like, yes, we've seen Devonta Freeman go for 20 points here or there when he gets a touchdown. I do not think that the Ravens and mainly Harbaugh is going to shy away from moving the ball in the air like they're going to need to versus Green Bay, because I'm going to re-pull up the number. I forget what they had, but versus running backs, I believe Green Bay is they're ranked 10 versus running backs this season. So they're a top 10 rushing defense. They're getting a bunch of their injured players back, if I remember correctly, this week. I do not think that Devonta Freeman or any Baltimore running back is going to be able to find holes. And I think the defensive coordinator is going to make them, the Ravens, move the ball through the air if they want to win.
Gotcha. All right. Let's go to wide receivers. Tom, we'll just go with you.
I know I just did a whole rant on the Ravens needing to move the ball through the air, but I do not I don't think it'll be with Hollywood because Tyler Huntley does not have necessarily the arm. I don't want to say the arm talent, but he doesn't have the want or I don't even know what it is. He doesn't want to shoot the ball downfield, and that's really Hollywood's specialty and what he works with. I think it's going to be a huge day for Mark Andrews. I think it'll be a huge day for, I guess Sammy Watkins is on the IR or whatever, the COVID list or something. I think that it's going to be like a big day for a lot of the guys that run the short routes. I don't know their receiving core too entirely, honestly. But I think it'll be a big Mark Andrews day, and I just don't see Hollywood having a huge day versus this Green Bay defense, especially if, and one of you guys can tell me if he's back or not, if Jair Alexander is back, Hollywood primarily runs out of the slot, which means he's going to have to cover or go up against Jair. So I very much do not like Hollywood this week.
That's actually
very interesting. Very interesting. Asher, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to sit Julio Jones. That's the name that
was my other one.
He's a name that I've never really thought I'd say sit him, but with Tannehill under center and no Derrick Henry in the backfield, I'm going to keep saying it too. Without Derrick Henry in that backfield, the offense seems to be in shambles. And considering Julio Jones' first week back last week, he didn't put up any fantasy relevant performances, so I'm going to sit Julio Jones until they could figure some shit out.
Nice. Okay. All right. Let's go to our tight ends. Cue it back to you, Asher. Go ahead.
All right. Tight ends. Any tight end that isn't a top 5 tight end in the league, you can go ahead and sit. But I'm going to go out and say David Njoku for the Cleveland Browns. I've been sitting tight ends. I know that the Browns and Austin Hooper, they're having some COVID issues right now. Austin Hooper isn't expected to play. I still don't like David Njoku coming to this week, considering I know Justin's going to be pissed about me saying this, but I don't think they'll have a quarterback to get him the ball as much. Or they'll rely on the running game more than the passing game like they have been. So
that's my biggest thing with that. I think it because Kareem Hunt is out too, it's going to be all Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zane Gonzalez is officially out.
Yeah, so we got Zelkstra or whatever his name is kicking the field goals.
That is going to be – I'm going to make so many parlays on that somehow, but that's going to be great. No, anything you say about the Browns is true. They suck. There's nothing I can say about it. They're terrible. They're wide. We thought the wide receivers were a strength coming in. The wide receivers all suck. Jarvis Landry can kind of just fuck off at this point because I mean they're not going to bring him back next year. Apparently he's a lot of underneath the covers. He's a lot of the locker room turmoil because him and OBJ. I just don't care about the Browns. I've been telling this to Tom for about 2 weeks now. I'm just done with the NFL. Like, I can't do another 20 years where the Browns suck and the Patriots win 10 Super Bowls. So, I mean, that's exactly looking like what the next decade is going to be. So, feel free to speak terribly about the Browns. I just don't care. I hope they fire Stefanski. I don't know. I don't care. Whatever. You're probably right. Njoku, yeah, I will say Will Compton. I'll post his Twitter screenshot later, but it was interesting between him and Will Compton. All right, Tom, go ahead.
I am going with Cole Komet versus Ashes Vikings. We've seen Cole Komet start to get more involved, kind of like how when we were talking about him in the beginning of the season, we kind of predicted him too because he's just been the safety net option for Fields a little bit. He's been getting more targets and everything, but we were talking about what did you call him, Asher? Harry Hitstick, Harry Hitman?
Oh, Hitman Harry, yeah.
Hitman Harry.
Hitman.
He's going to be covered by Harrison Smith all night long. And is Bill Lazor back? Is he actually going to be calling plays, or is it going to be Nagy again?
It's Nagy's team. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
When Lazor calls plays, the offense actually works, but I think Lazor may still be out. He was part of the reason that the game got moved. Actually, no, it wasn't moved. It was always scheduled for that. Never mind. Ignore that one. But I think this is a bad matchup for Comet, and I think that it's just not gonna go the way that most people think. So if you're looking for a tight end streamer, it should be Comet.
Okay, cool. Before we get into defenses, or I guess you could say this real quick, just go ahead. Unless you have backup on it or something, go ahead.
Mine is Baltimore versus Green Bay.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I actually was thinking about going with them as well, but I'm going to go with sitting Atlanta Falcons against San Fran.
I like that.
Oh, yeah, I forgot this was Sidham. Okay, never mind. Mm-hmm. Good picks for both of you, especially Tom. I was like, why are you sitting against Aaron Rodgers? But whatever. All right, we'll move on to our sleepers. First, before we get there, are either one of you into movies?
I am.
Have either of you seen Spider-Man No Way Home?
Not yet. I haven't been able to get out.
Okay, how was it? I need to know. No spoilers.
I think it's worth the hype.
Okay.
All right. I've said it all weekend, and I think I've said it on Twitter like 5 times. I would pay well over $200 to be able to watch it right here in front of my face. But I will see it this week in theaters, and I'm excited for it. So I just wanted to know. Everyone else says it's good, so I'm looking forward to it.
I'm waiting for the boys to get home, and we're all going to do a movie night. And after we watch the movie, we're going bowling. So we're making a whole night of our first day back together.
Oh my gosh! That's
oh, I love it.
Yeah, guys' night, bro. I haven't seen these guys in like a month because I was here for Thanksgiving.
He was so excited to say we're going bowling after.
Yeah,
I love
that's our thing. we went bowling every week during the summer.
No,
and every
awesome.
Monday. Yeah,
I haven't been home in like 3 years. So
yeah. When are you gonna go? When are you gonna be able to get home?
I don't know. Whenever the country lets me.
Do you have like leave built up?
Oh, I have tons of leave built up.
Yeah,
Problem is you can't use it when the country locks down every month.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's a shitty situation, man. Hopefully you get to see your family soon. I always feel bad for you guys like that. That sucks, but nothing you can do. Dude. Hey, at least you're not in the Navy and you aren't polluting Hawaii, I guess. So that's good.
Hawaii.
I'm stuck in Hawaii.
I have one of my old buddies from the Army is down in Hawaii, and he just says it's a shit show. So that's interesting. All right, let's get to our sleepers. Before we start with sleepers, we are in the playoffs now. I guess this is more of a strategy question because, granted, like I said, don't take my advice. But in the playoffs, I would be the type of guy that I swing for the fences. Like you guys are completely right on Chase Edmonds, but I'm the type of guy that's going to put him in. So I assume you guys are more strategy wise. You're at least in the first round looking to stick to what got you here and then maybe change things. But I mean, I think it's just good if you guys kind of either talk about like your strategies a little bit with sleeper kind of that. Tom, Ash, I'll start with you. Tom, I don't want to hear it from you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, playoffs is the time where you start your studs. And I'm not going to tell anybody a sleeper that I don't actually think is going to win them the game, especially during playoffs. So I'm going with the guy that I'm also streaming in my 2 leagues that I have, Lamar Jackson. And I've never said his name in a stardom way. I'm going to go with Jimmy Garoppolo against the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons defense is absolutely in shambles. He's got Deebo Samuel back in. Elijah Mitchell is out. I don't see them trusting Jeff Wilson on the ground very long. So I think between Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle, Jimmy Garoppolo is set up to have a monster fantasy performance, and he's a guy that I'd be looking at streaming if your stud is out of the game.
I like that pick. It's going to be interesting going forward with the 49ers. I mean, I don't think we've talked about it much on here, but what Deebo Samuel has become has honestly, I don't really want to get into the stats but it's just awesome to watch. I think I love it when he's in there. They give him the jet sweeps. They let him run it. I think he's awesome. And I love the fact that he went to South Carolina. Also, South Carolina, go Spencer Rattler. I never, ever said anything bad about him, ever. So don't worry. Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, so for my sleepers, and when I'm in the first round of the playoffs, I looked at it from 2 perspectives. There was the one where I'm the favorite seed, where I'm like, okay, let's stick with what we've been doing. Everything's fine. I'm the 1 seed, I'm the 2 seed, I'm the 3 seed, whatever. So there I'm sticking with my studs. And then if you're a lower seed, you're like, okay, you're overcoming the odds. You gotta play for the highest amount of value. You gotta play for the highest overall points, obviously. But you can take some more risks. But my thought process always is, regardless of which seed I'm at, is I need to put out the best team possible, obviously, and just kind of let it play its course. So if there are times where I have a guy that has a better matchup, even though obviously not over my studs. So like, my Camaras, my, Najee Harris, whatever it is, like you're going to be playing them. But if I'm looking, and I know this is the wrong position, but if I'm looking like, okay, I need Javonte Williams or, James Conner, say, I like, maybe that's a bad example because they're not necessarily the same. But if I'm looking at guys that are 2 similarly ranked players, and I'm like, okay, which one has the potential to put out the biggest day? It has burned me a little bit in the past, but you do need to take some risks, even if you're the 1 or 2 or 3 seed or a higher seed or whatever. So I went through and I looked at a lot of the teams that are in the playoffs. Most of them have like a Brady or a Stafford as their starting quarterback, but this guy is on all of their rosters seemingly. I was kind of surprised to see how many guys that had an older vet have this guy on their bench. I would play Joe Burrow this week versus Denver. Maybe not over Stafford this week because he gets Seattle. But Brady's going against New Orleans, which I guess isn't a great defense either. But Burrow's playing Denver. We've talked on this show extensively about how streaky both of these teams are. I say they're the 2 streakiest teams in the league because the Bengals will go out and they'll beat this monster colossal team and then lose to the Jets or lose to another streaky team like the Chargers. And Denver is the same way. They went out, they beat a couple guys early 4-0, then they sucked, and now they're kind of in no man's land with the Bengals. I think today is going to be the good Bengals. I think that it's going to be through Joe Burrow. I love Joe Mixon, but I think that if there's one place that Denver is going to let up some points, it's going to be to the receiving core and the receiving group that the Bengals have. And I think they're going to put the season that they're trying to put into a playoff season on the line in Joe Burrow's hands. So I very much believe that this is a Joe Burrow week versus Denver. So I would start him over a guy like, like I said, maybe Brady, because I'm scared a little bit off by it.
Yeah, it's an interesting pick. I've seen a lot of stuff online say to sit him, so it's an interesting pick. I love Burrow. I don't know. I do a lot of weird things I'm not going to say on here to have Burrow as my quarterback, but whatever. All right, let's move on to running backs. In case anyone was wondering, once again this morning, the sports world is falling apart with COVID. Everyone in the NBA is having an outbreak. It's not looking good, but just an update. There will be NFL games today. So let's go for our running backs, sleeper running backs. Tom, I'll start with you, man.
I'm actually going to let Asher go first because I have two guys, and I'm hoping he'll take one of them.
Okie dokie. Asher, go ahead.
Yeah, and to kind of hammer it home, like with what I said before, usually when people are looking for sleeper options is because they have some sort of like depth issue with their team, whether it be running backs, whether it be quarterbacks, whether it be wide receivers. So before I say the name that I'm going to say, if you have better options, if you have studs that are in your lineup, and just don't get pretty with it. Don't, substitute a guy like, James Conner, who's a touchdown hog, or David Montgomery for this guy, if you have them. But if you do have depth issues, I would considerably or heavily look into Rashad Penny.
Love that.
He is a monster back. I think he's ready to take over the RB1 in Seattle's offense. It really just depends on what Pete Carroll can do with Rashad Penny. Last week, he went off for a monster game, the best game of his career fantasy-wise. And I think Pete Carroll's looking at that as like, all right, we're going to test you out. We're going to see what you can actually do with running back one snap percentage. So it'll be interesting to see what Rashad Penny could do. Like I said before, though, don't sit your studs for this guy. But if you have depth issues and you were able to pick up Penny for the waiver wire, he's a guy that I would look into streaming this week.
So I want to go off that. Justin and I are a part of this dynasty team. I traded a lot of my depth away to get Alvin Kamara. So a question that Asher is kind of referring to, if you have depth issues, is I'm looking right now. This is my league where I'm the 3 seed. My cousin had the 40-point night from Kelsey. So now I'm looking strictly for upside. My flex play options, I'm looking at maybe playing Rashad Penny. But I also have KJ Osborne from the Vikings versus the Bears, who I really like. Or there's Javonte Williams versus the Bengals, who I currently have in. Do you think Penny could go in over either of those guys?
I would. Who is this? Who's the second name? Not KJ Osborne, but
Javonte Williams.
I don't think I would put him over Javonte Williams, just because now that they see what Javonte Williams has done, he's starting to get more and more of the snap percentage. The only time I would start Rashad Penny over KJ Osborne is if Adam Thielen is out. He's questionable right now. So just to play it safe, and you need a guy that needs to start tonight and not wait for tomorrow and be stuck with Osborne.
Well, Penny plays Tuesday night.
Oh, well, then either way, I don't know if I'd start Rashad Penny over those two guys.
Even with Javonte Williams dealing with the knee injury, he's supposed to play, but he was dealing with a knee injury all week.
Yeah. See, the injury updates that I've been seeing as a trend going around the league is like these guys that are having ankle injuries or knee injuries, I kind of been staying away from, and then they pop off for 20-plus performances. So I think they're just saying like, yeah, this is a kind of an excuse of why we're letting him sit down for a little bit. But if Javonte Williams is out there and he's playing, he's going to play.
That's true. He hasn't had over 20 each week since the bye week. So over the past 3 weeks, he's had 20 or more. So that was just what I was looking at, considering, Penny blew up for 26 last week and is now getting even more of the touches. So that's the kind of process I think, Asher, you were kind of referring to. Is like there's some depth, and Penny could be toying around with guys like that. So
yeah,
I just wanted to bounce off that. Justin, did I give mine or no?
No, you're up.
Okay. I have two guys that I really like, and I'm going to bring them both up again. Sorry. This is, again, if you're looking for just a big week from a guy in your flex spot, kind of like you were saying, Asher, you have depth issues or you just need a big week and you don't have anyone else to play. I really like Michael Carter coming back for the Jets today versus Miami. I know Miami's been very good versus the run, but Michael Carter, when he plays, they get it to him on the ground. They get it to him through the air. They find creative ways to get him the ball, and he's an absolute stud. And Miami's defense, like I said, while it's good versus the run, I think there are a lot of holes. And Carter, I believe last time he played, found a way to break through those holes, if I'm remembering correctly. So I think he's a guy that could end up helping win some weeks this year or this week. And the other guy, with the recent news of the Carolina kicking situation, Chuba Hubbard versus Buffalo might be able to. And I know Buffalo. Again, very, very good defense versus the run. But Hubbard found a lot of his success.
Really bad quarterback.
He does have a bad quarterback. They're gonna get him a lot of touches, and big thing for him is a lot of his. I don't even know who's starting, so I'm not sure if it's Newton. I'm not sure if it's Walker. I'm not sure if Darnold's back because I thought he got activated.
I was talking about the Bills.
Oh, but Hubbard's going to get a lot of touches on the ground. He's going to get targets through the air, which is where he really found his value when he was filling in for McCaffrey the first time. So I really like both those two guys. If you're looking just for a pickup play, if you're dealing with COVID issues, if you're dealing with injuries, both of those guys probably are still on your waiver wire potentially. So I really like both those two guys, even though they have difficult matchups today.
Gotcha. All right. Let's move on to our wide receivers. Tommy, been on a roll. I'll start with you, man.
I'm going with Van Jefferson versus the Seahawks. We talked about it a little at the beginning of the show when my friend Clark asked about him. He's starting to get more of that chemistry with Stafford. He's the third option, I believe, because OBJ is also getting some extra looks now. He's getting doubled up. Obviously, Cooper Kupp is being doubled every single play. He's a guy that's going to be able to potentially break out a couple of big plays and big catches. So I really like him versus this shaky Seattle defense. So I will go there.
All right, Asher, how about you, my man?
For my sleeper wide receiver this week, I'm going to go with Russell Gage. He seems to be like one of the only top options they have in Atlanta besides Kyle Pitts, but I don't even think they're really utilizing him that way. I like Russell Gage. The last few games, his performances have really said enough. He's putting up wide receiver one numbers as far as fantasy relevancy wise go. I really like what he's done with his snap percentage being out there. He's been around 75 plays, which is 75% of the time, which is 3/4 of the plays they run. He's receiving at least anywhere between 7 and 11 targets a game. And the most important thing is he's, like I said, putting up those fantasy numbers that you look for in a wide receiver. And I think Russell Gage is a solid sleeper if you don't have it. If you need another guy to put in as a plug and play.
I really like the Russell Gage play.
Yeah, I guess looking forward, and I'm here. I'm just doing something real quick. Sorry. Looking forward, like, how do you see Russell Gage's outlook next year? Because I mean, obviously Calvin Ridley is a big question mark this year, but you don't really know. Like, is Russell Gage going to be like a higher draft pick, I guess, in drafts next year than he was this year? Because he could end up being, Matt Ryan's number one target, other than maybe Kyle Pitts. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
To me, it really depends on in the offseason what Calvin really decides to do. Mm-hmm. I think Russell Gage is still a wide receiver too with Calvin Ridley in. I think they'll play him as such. I think he'll be a higher draft position than he was this year. I know a lot of leagues he probably wasn't even drafted. So I think he will be higher than he was this year. But as far as, being like one of those guys you pick up in like the 4th or 5th round, I'd say wait to hear from what Calvin Ridley decides to do.
Yeah, is Ridley a free agent after this year?
No, I think he's still on his rookie deal, if I remember correctly. I think he has maybe another year or two on his rookie deal.
Okay. I don't know. I was just wondering. So, all right, let's go with our tight ends now. Asher, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm going with Big Daddy Patty.
Yeah.
I have to. He's a guy that I've been saying that for the past couple of weeks. I still see him as a good fantasy start. I know a lot of people were saying he's probably touchdown relevant, but he's the tight end that Ben Roethlisberger's really been liking to go to. Even against the Vikings, he had nearly 2 touchdowns. He's had quite a few red zone targets, and I don't think anything changes in the system. I think Big Daddy Patty's set to have a big day.
Yeah, I mean, one of you was going to pick it, so
Yeah.
I
I also picked it, and I'm not stepping away from it, but I'll bring another one on.
Okay, go ahead, bring another one on, Tom.
This one.
What's your versatility?
Someone that has been in my sleepers and my sit, never a start, and a guy that you can stream for a week because of how, excuse my French, but how shitty the tight end landscape is in fantasy football. I believe Gerald Everett might be a guy to worth plugging and playing if you have no other option. He's going up against the Rams. I know I talked about Russ not being great or playing good at all, but Everett's a guy that they look for in the red zone, and he's come down with some really big catches for them over the past couple weeks. So Everett in the end zone and then the red zone itself. I believe that he could have a very similar day because I believe he did. Asher, did he catch a touchdown last week?
Who?
Everett?
Yeah,
I think so.
I think he did too.
He's been getting a lot of red zone targets, if I remember correctly. I'm gonna look him up just to see what his production has been.
He did get a tutty last week, but as far as receiving goes, last week wasn't a great week against Houston. He only had two receptions and 2 targets for 15 yards and a tutty. But the past 3 weeks after that, he's been receiving anywhere from 5 to 10 targets a game. So
right. And wow. Since the bye week, he's had 8, 4, 9, 6. Last week he got a little shut down. I think that was mainly because of Tyler Lockett having a huge day, but he's a guy where they're going to look for him in the red zone specifically, and he's touchdown dependent. But if you, like Asher said, if you don't have one of those 6 guys and you're looking just to value any sort of points out of the tight end position, Everett's a solid option, I believe, this week versus the Rams.
All right. I like that pick. Because I have a guy in mind. Who's been your most disappointing tight end this year? Because obviously it's been a position this year that, hasn't really lived up to the hype. I mean, Kyle Pitts, I was one that got him in basically all of our leagues. I still think he'll end up being very good in the NFL, but I mean, he was basically a wash this year. So I don't know. Who are your guys' biggest disappointments at the tight end position? Asher, I'll start with you.
Higbee.
Yeah.
Higbee's a big one. Higbee's a big one for me because, I mean, he's one of those guys that you look for when the top guys are out of the draft, like your George Kittle, your Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce's, and even like a Dallas Goddard. Once he gets to that time, he's not the most salivating option, but at least he's still a tight end 1 for a good offense with a good quarterback. So seeing his numbers and what he's done this year, I don't think it relates to or kind of shows what he has in him. And he's disappointed me quite a bit this year.
Okay, I mean, this is just, I guess, kind of a personal question. Not personal, but is it really his fault?
I don't think so. I think Tyler Higbee is a physical weapon for that offense. I just don't think Matthew Stafford looks for him as much, especially when you have guys like Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson, and they had Robert Woods before his ACL. But even then, I don't think it's Higbee's fault. I think he could put up a huge performance when he needs to. He just hasn't.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with you. It seems like Stafford just has no interest in kind of throwing to him, and it's worked for them for the most part, so you can't really hate on it. But no, I agree with that pick, and yeah, I just don't. I mean, even with Odell coming in now, he's even more in the background. So that's interesting. Tom, what about you, man?
I have sort of 2, but for different reasons. Number 1 for me, I would say Noah Fant. He's a guy who generally is always in that top 8 for tight ends. He's currently hovering around 15, which isn't bad. but he's only had 1, 2, 3, 4. He's had 5 weeks this year where he's put up 10 or more points. And out of a guy where you took him, I believe, around the 6th, 7th, 8th round, you're expecting a guy from the tight end position to at least be getting you 10 a week. So he's a little disappointing in that facet. The other one was Cole Comet. He was a guy that everyone was hyping up at the beginning of the year, myself included, and saying that this was going to be his step-up season. He's finally going to get more of a role. He's going to get more of the snap count, and it hasn't been true. Well, I guess he's been on the field more, but he hasn't been getting the looks that everyone's been thinking about and assuming that he would get. So Comet from a progression standpoint and Fant more so from a production standpoint.
Yeah, I only asked that because I agree. Fant has been really disappointing this year. I thought he would have a much better season, and especially looking the fact that Jerry Jeudy was out for a little bit, and he just never stepped up. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to him. Other than that, I don't know. Is anyone making any bets today? Asher, are you doing any daily fantasy?
Yeah, I have a few DFS lineups.
Let's hear them.
Well, a lot of the guys.
All right, well, this is already going to be good.
This is not going to be good.
No, it's going to be great.
No, it'll be fine. It's just I don't want to jinx anything before it happens. But I will share one of my lineups, guys. This is a lineup that I made as far as like matchups and stuff go, and guys that I like to have pop off performances. But I got as my quarterback, I got Jimmy G going against Atlanta. I have Elliott and James Robinson as my 2 running backs. They're both facing terrible rush defenses, and James Robinson is set to have a huge day. My wide receivers are Christian Kirk, Devonta Parker, and Deebo Samuel. All have great matchups. D-Hop is out for Arizona, so Christian Kirk should get more looks. Jalen Waddle is out for Miami, so Devonta Parker is going to have, or I see having a better day. And then Deebo Samuel's just Deebo Samuel, plus he's facing Atlanta. I got Mark Andrews in my tight end, and my flex position, Pat Freiermuth, Big Daddy Patty. And then for my defense, I looked at getting the lowest possible option between the Jags and Houston for value. I feel like one of the defenses are going to step up, and I don't think Houston's offense is going to be any good. And with a new head coach and the Jags system, it'll be interesting to see what the Jags can put up today. So I have the Jags defense streaming in my DFS lineup.
That's,
I like that.
I think you'd kind of be maybe safe going either way in that matchup with the defenses because interesting stat I learned this week. What do you think the Jaguars' record is for their team total over under? How many times have they hit over on their team total this year?
1.
They're 1-11 in their team total. They've hit the under 11 times in their team total, which is I don't know how I didn't notice that earlier. It's clearly why I'm not a good gambler. But yeah, it's crazy. And I guess I'll ask both of you. Are you kind of expecting a pretty good performance today from the Jaguars after Urban Meyer's kind of out? I don't know, Asher, what do you think?
I think so. I think it's going to be a different Jaguar system, especially with Bevel coming in as the head coach or the interim now. I think it'll be interesting to see what he can do with Lawrence in that system and to get James Robinson more involved. But on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, the game's in Jacksonville, and what better start to your interim head coaching than punching Houston in the mouth,
Yeah, totally. Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to think. When I was putting together my parlay this morning, I wanted no part of this game whatsoever. I feel like the Jaguars could come out super energized and enthused, or they're going to come out and it just be I don't even know if it can be even more of a shit show than normal. But
I don't think it's possible.
I don't think it's possible. But I noticed that when I was saying it. But I could still see it be very chaotic. This guy, I think is it his first head coaching job? in the NFL. I believe it is.
Yeah, it's got to be because he's been around, but he's been around in coordinator jobs and everything like that.
Yeah, and position coaching. Yeah, so when I was putting together my parlay, I didn't want to touch it because I have no idea. And like we saw Davis Mills last week, we were all saying
okay.
He looked all right. He completed around 66% of his passes, and I think he went for like 230 yards or something. So I really had no idea what to look at in that game, so I just avoided it.
All right, and then the last question I'll ask about the Jaguars. I mean, it's obviously this is a lost season for Trevor Lawrence, but I've come out in the past as skeptical of his, and this year is only fueling my fire. But I'll add in the fact that he has not looked good. Like, he has not looked good. Urban Meyer's definitely had a lot to do with it, but Trevor Lawrence has not looked good. I think he threw 4 picks last week, and 3 of the 4, or I think that his numbers were like, he was like 7 of 19 when he had more than 3 seconds in the pocket. So it's not like he's just getting killed out there. I don't know. I guess even more kind of going into next year, what are your thoughts? Obviously, you have to see how the offseason plays out, see if they get a new coach, different coach. I still think Dabo Swinney going to Jacksonville is not out of the question. I don't think they'd make another dumb mistake to hire him. I actually think Dabo Swinney's going to end up in Vegas.
Really?
But I don't know. What did you guys think of Trevor Lawrence? I guess, Asher, I'll start with you.
I said this actually last year. It was people saw it as a cold take. I took it as a hot take. I don't think Trevor Lawrence deserved to be number 1 overall. I thought there were better options. Obviously, he was the clear-cut number 1, especially what he did in Clemson. He's always won, even coming out of like high school, college, everything. I just think his game looks a little sluggish, and I think there are better options coming out of that draft. But I don't think he's going to have that type of play coming into the NFL. I don't think he was NFL ready.
Asher, you and I don't agree on a lot. We agree on that, though. We agree on that. So I'll give you praise for that. Tom, I don't know. We've talked about this when it happened. We've talked about this for almost over a year. I'll honestly say, like, yeah, I was skeptical of him. But I still think he has all the tools to be a good quarterback. Yeah. But, I mean, we talked about this earlier as well. He just looks like, and if you see his body language and everything around him, he looks like a guy that doesn't like need to play football to live. Like, I don't think it like burns inside him like it burns inside. Like, this is the wrong comparison, but Baker Mayfield, because he sucks. But like, I don't think it burns the same way that it did for a lot of college quarterbacks. And I think a lot of that is because he always won and everything became easy for him. So he's done it all, be everywhere. I don't know, Tom, what are your thoughts?
I think we talked about it at one point, but one of the biggest comparisons that I read up on, and I believe I brought to you and said, like, I'm starting to kind of believe it a little bit. But Lawrence, to me, kind of feels like maybe an Andrew Luck situation where, like, the consensus number 1 pick did phenomenal in college. They have all the tools to succeed. I do think Lawrence will succeed at some point. Like you said, Justin, he has all the tools to be able to. But you're right. The passion just isn't there. His urge to win, you don't see it anymore. Maybe because he knows he's in the hole and he's never really experienced like that kind of adversity, I guess, because of how dominant he's been. But Andrew Luck was a comparison that we had talked about and on the show here. And I could see another situation like that happening and being broken down, where he steps away because of, injury problems that he doesn't want to incur anymore, or he steps away because he just, doesn't want the mental health issues that could come from it. I don't really know. I think it's entirely possible he could walk away from the game, but it won't be for a while and for a couple of years, kind of like how Andrew Luck played. Did he play like 7 or 8 years, Luck, or was it like less than that?
I think he played 6,
7, somewhere.
He basically played till he was 30. I remember that.
Yeah, it was something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happens where his career is cut short, but he will still play. Would be kind of my take.
Yeah, no, I don't know how that comparison, because we have talked about it. I don't know how that eluded me, but yeah, it's exactly right. And Granted, it's year 2 is obviously always a big year for rookie quarterbacks, but I think he might be looking at like the biggest year 2 ever that we've seen in a rookie quarterback for a while.
Because of how low year 1 was.
Yeah, and how bad it was and how good he looked. And obviously he has the excuse built in, and it's good for one off season. Like it's good for one off season that Urban Meyer killed him. It's good for one off season, but if he comes back in next year and sucks again, I think you really have to start questioning how much you really want to invest and pay this guy. But he has all the tools.
Luck only really played 5 seasons because in 2017 he didn't play at all.
You're right. Yeah, that's right. Tom, are you going to let us all know your parlay?
I can if we want.
I mean, it's 12:56. I assume you're going to give the parlay, and we'll hop off and be able to watch football.
Sounds good. I don't want to say I'm uber confident in this, but I like it. I think that it has the potential, obviously, because it's a bet. But I start off with the Titans -2.5 to the Steelers. I go to Dallas -6.5 over the Cowboys. I got this one in before the kicking problem happened, but I have the Bills -6.5 over Carolina. The Cardinals -9.5 over the Lions, and the Bengals they're my odds booster. I really like I said, I think this is a Joe Burrow day, and I think that it's an off day for Denver. So I'm going with the Bengals -3.5 over the Broncos. $20 goes in, pays out $4.20.
Nice. I like that. I like that. You always it's always hard to do those. I have obviously lost all of my money in my gambling account except for like $10. And then I bet 5 of that on James Madison to win on Friday. They didn't. So I have $5 left. So I'll be taking your parlay and probably even trying to boost it more for more odds. So that's good. But let me get back on the screen here. Unless you guys have anything else to say. Obviously, I think I speak for everyone. Ash, unfortunately, I don't know if you're going home for Christmas. It doesn't sound like it. But stay safe, everyone. Obviously, we're not going to get political, but definitely stay safe. COVID's out there. It definitely is. So just stay safe. We hope your family stays safe. I don't know. Does anyone have time this week to do an actual podcast?
I have time. I have time all week.
I should have been contacting you earlier, Asher. We'll do one early this week because I have my college football one. So we'll hop on Monday, Tuesday, or probably Monday or Tuesday, I would think, just because we don't want to deal with as it gets closer to Christmas. But
and
Tom,
we have games.
Yeah, and that's true. Wow, that's true. And not only do we have NFL games, we have college games now too as well. So we'll talk about that. We'll be on at some point this week. Once again, great picks from you guys, hopefully, except for Josh Allen. He sucks.
Hey, at least you didn't say except Daddy Patty.
No, I've accepted it. It's funny you said. I was just about to say, all right, it's inevitable that Freiermuth gets 2 touchdowns today. So it's inevitable that Freiermuth gets 2 touchdowns today. So, like I said, I may have to shed my Kyler Murray Kyler Murray long sleeve NFL jersey T-shirt for a Freiermuth NFL long sleeve jersey T-shirt. But he would have to leave Pittsburgh for that because I would get murdered in the street if I wore Pittsburgh jerseys.
Which is fair.
Yeah, which is fair. But unless you guys have anything else, that's going to be it for us. Any last words, Asher?
No, I mean, salute to our troops overseas right now, especially during over the holidays. Keep them in your mind and in prayers.
Absolutely. Tom?
Go Dogs.
All right.